I always tell people that I'm in awe of you because I feel like you've lived 17 different lives, at least 10 since we met.
Hi, I'm Natalie and welcome to Nourished. Today's episode is a deeply personal one. I'm joined by someone who's not only a brilliant digital growth strategist and true creative force, but one of my dearest friends, Chris Gentillini. Chris is known for so many things, but perhaps she might be most famous for coining the term, dress for the day you want to have. Her work has inspired so many women to step into their confidence, claim their space, and lead with intention. But today, Chris is not here to be interviewed. She is here to turn the lens on me.
You've had a very non-linear career. And I don't think I've ever asked you, is this how you always imagined that it was gonna be?
I don't think that anything about my life has been linear. I moved to New York when I was 17 and I started working when I was 14.
One of my favorite sayings is how you do anything is how you do everything.
So true.
And you're one of the people that I think about when I think of that saying because your work ethic shows since, I think you're the first one to arrive or you're the first one to join the call.
When it becomes your means to survive, the definition of ambition changes significantly.
Do you ever regret choosing that path?
It was my only way to survive. And that same method that fueled my career is also what almost killed me. Chris, welcome to Nourished. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to grill you with questions.
Oh, wonderful. I can't wait. Someone pray for me. Chris and I have known each other for probably, 3 years now?
Feels like 15, but
I know.
I think officially 3.
We have been in many different continents, zip codes together through many different life iterations. She unfortunately left me in Miami to my own devices and has moved back to Puerto Rico. But I'm so happy that she made the time to come back. She's seriously one of my best friends, and I am just so excited for this conversation.
I first want to say, again, thank you for having me. And second, I always tell people that I'm in awe of you because I feel like you've lived 17 different lives. At least 10 since we met.
Yep.
And I want to start there because I think that everyone has a trajectory kind of in their heads for where they're going, but you've had a very non-linear career. And I don't think I've ever asked you, is this how you always imagined that it was going to be? Or did you have a specific idea that you wanted to chase? Or you were like, I'm just going to go with the flow and see what happens?
It's a really interesting question. I don't think that anything about my life has been linear, right? I didn't grow up with a super traditional upbringing. And I think that has definitely carried itself into my career, relationships, honestly, every aspect of my life. I definitely didn't expect to be where I am now. I never thought I'd be sitting here having a podcast, being an entrepreneur and now the consumer goods space and the farm and this whole holistic way of living. I've always loved health and wellness, but my dream when I was younger was to work in fashion, for sure. I was I'm moving to New York. I'm going to work in fashion. I idolized Vogue. I idolized women on the runways. I just was kind of obsessed with that fast-paced, gritty lifestyle.
I can totally see you working in fashion anyways, and I know you kind of dabble in it. So you modeled, so that is part of it. And you're very creative with the way you dress, so I can totally see it. But I think that the underlying theme there was ambition. So I think you were always a go-getter since you were little. Tell me a little bit about that. Who were the role models that you would see? And how do you think ambition has shaped the way that you decided, the different steps that you needed to take in life?
Yeah, I grew up with a single mom, and I think that that's probably one of the most inspiring aspects in my entrepreneurship, right? She has always been super strong. You know, she's told me since I was little that she knew she never wanted to work for anybody, and she didn't. Yes, maybe when she was younger, when she was a teenager, she started her career in Las Vegas and, you know, obviously was kind of working in the hospitality world a bit. And from there, I mean, she was pregnant with me at her college graduation and started her business at the same time. And so I think growing up around a woman with so much strength and like serious entrepreneurship in terms of mentality is really what inspired me. And watching her also have like the freedom to have her own life and to kind of like set her own rules and terms, I think really inspired me also to just want to do the same. I obviously did not do that right away. I feel like I commend my work ethic in my younger years to having mentorship, to working in a very corporate setting, to where like you obviously didn't punch in, punch out, but there were rules. But I think all of that shaped me to now be the leader that I am.
I love that. And I think you bring those qualities to everything you do, right? I think that one of my favorite sayings is how you do anything is how you do everything.
So true.
And you're one of the people that I think about when I think of that saying, because your work ethic shows since, I don't know, I think you're the first one to arrive, or you're the first one to join the call. And I joined 2 minutes before calls and you're already there. So I think that I can see that. I can see how that translates. And I can also see how that started from a very young age, right?
Yeah.
You always tell me that you moved to New York when you were 17, right? Was it 17?
I was 17.
And while all your friends were out partying and, you know, living the life in New York, you were working.
Yeah.
How was that first experience?
I mean, this is why I really wanted you to also lead this conversation today, because obviously we've talked so much on Nourished about my trauma, right? And everything that I've gone through on the spiritual, personal side, but I haven't shared really anything about my ambitious side and my goals in terms of like the career and everything that I kind of just set out to do at 17. So I moved to New York when I was 17 and I started working when I was 14. My parents had these oxygen bars and
That's so California.
oh my God. No, honestly, it was Vegas. This was Vegas at that time. So we were living in Las Vegas. They had oxygen bars, tobacco businesses, and poker businesses at the time. The oxygen bars, you would literally walk up to this bar, you would get a cannula, like an oxygen cannula, and then you would get hooked up to these oxygen machines that had 4 different flavors.
Flavors?
You would breathe like peppermint, eucalyptus, like rose, any of these different things. And you would inhale them. And so I would sit customers down. Also, like we're talking about the Vegas airport. So these people would walk in, they have just committed like the worst sins in their life for the past 48 hours, and they are like completely disheveled. And I would just sit there and honestly take advantage of them. I had a very strong manager who was Israeli, and I swear to God, hardest work ethic ever. My mom told me from the beginning, she's like, you can work for me, but you are reporting to him. Like this is not going to be you know, the golden treatment. And so I reported to him, and he was one of the best salespeople still to this day I've ever come across, in the sense of this might cost $5. Like by the time you leave, you will pay $500. Like that's just how he was. So I learned manipulation tactics at a very young age. But basically, as people would sit down, I would say, oh, you're hungover. Like if you sit down and you breathe this aroma, your hangover is going to be gone and you're going to live 10 years longer, whatever it was. At the same time, they would get upsold these different like electromagnetic machines, massage tools, different aromatherapy, eucalyptus, like essential oils, that was my first job. And so from there, I also started working in the airport. So I had to go through, because her businesses were also there, I had to go through like TSA training at age 15. I had to go to the state of Nevada and get them to approve me actually working because I was so young.
Wow.
So that was kind of my first intro into work. And from there, I started interning. Zappos was based in Las Vegas. I had a lot of close family connections that worked there at the time. And so I was lucky enough to land an internship. And so when there was conventions in town like Magic, which is huge in Vegas, or if there were specific buying trips that were happening, I would sometimes get the chance to attend. And that's when I met my past boss, Sam Edelman, and he offered me an internship when I was like 16 for the next summer. And I just knew that I wanted to take it.
When we talk about sales and when we talk about going into fashion, right, with Sam Edelman, it resonates with what you were wanting when you were little, right? It was very ambitious. How do you think that word started changing meaning after then being in New York officially? And now it's like, oh, it's not like my cute internship or like the cool summer job that I wanted in fashion.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh my God, this is my life. And all I do is work. And I have nothing else to do during the day other than work.
For sure. I think that when it becomes your means to survive, the definition of ambition changes significantly, right? When it's an internship and, at the time when I first started with him, they thought I was a junior in college. And so that's why they had kind of offered it to me. They did not realize I was a junior in high school and that when I was going to come to New York, I was going to just be graduating. And so the only way for me to actually get the job, to find a place to live in New York, was to start school at NYU. So I started summer term so that I could live in the dorms because it was all that I could afford. And it was a paid internship, but not enough to make it in New York. Yeah. Let me just say that. There's no way. Like, I think about it now, I'm like, I don't even know how I survived. But I think from that point on, once I decided, hey, I'm not going to go back to college. And, I had the internship for 3 months. I was going to NYU at night during that time. And then at the end of the summer, I had kind of like a farewell dinner. The team from Zappos was in town. I went to dinner with Sam and his wife, Libby. And at the dinner table, he said, I want to offer you a full-time job, basically. And I, of course, wanted to take it. Everybody at the table was like, absolutely not. You can't skip college. My best friend, who is my friend again, she was going to be my roommate in school at Santa Barbara. And she was already there, was already waiting. I was supposed to be on a plane going back to pick up the rest of my stuff to meet her there. And I called my mom after the dinner. We were at Cosme in New York. If you know,
oh my God, Mexican food is so good.
Ever the duck carnitas there lives so in my head rent free. But I called my mom from the taxi cab and I said, Sam offered me a job and I'm not coming home. And she was like, you were insane. Like, what are you talking about? And at that point basically said, if this is the choice you're going to make, you're on your own. Like, I'm not going to support this. Also, we had lost multiple deposits, et cetera, for this school that I was supposed to be starting in probably 2 days post that. And so at that point, I think that's where ambition changed from this wonderful idea to, if I do not do this to the best of my ability, I'm going to fall flat and nobody is going to help me. This was my choice and I have to make it work.
Do you ever regret choosing that path?
No. I think at the time, obviously I was witnessing my friends partying and I felt super out of touch. In the sense of, they all were together, right? They were going home for these holiday breaks. You still had a lot of breaks during college, right? So all my friends would go home. I was in the first couple years of my career. So even Thanksgiving break, there was no like 3-week long break to go home and hang out and spend time with your friends. I was lucky if I got to go home for the holiday.
Yeah.
And so I think at that time I felt kind of sad that I was like missing out on those memories. But at the same time, I knew that it was short-term pain for a long-term gain.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny because while everyone was on holiday, you were dealing with like Black Friday sales or something.
I mean, so many things. Like I slept at the office. Like I was there 7 a.m., left at 7 p.m. I knew that I was going to have to work twice as hard for anybody to take me seriously.
Yeah. When I actually think about this, you were so young. And I was often the youngest person in the room, and I was 25. So I can't even imagine when you were 17. How did that feel? How did others treat you?
It's been something that I don't want to say has haunted me, but it's 100% been a driving force because I've always felt like people don't take me seriously. And even when I kind of shifted industries, it was another challenge to be a woman. So to be a woman and to be the youngest one in the room, it's very insecurity driving. You know, a lot of people don't think that you have anything to share. But in my case, I just kept telling myself, and you always tell me this, like you always say, go back to your why. Back then, I always told myself, like, I'm here for a reason. And maybe I don't know it yet, but he obviously saw something in me where he wanted to offer me this. And so even if all of these other people hate me for it and feel like I didn't earn my place here, whatever it is, because I hadn't gone to college and, you know, they had whatever it was, and I still was in the same position that they were, even if they didn't respect me, I knew that Sam did and that I was there for a reason. And so I just kept having to return to that. But it was definitely fuel for sure, because I knew that in order for people to take me seriously, I was going to have to work twice as hard.
Yeah. I think that it not only fueled your ambition, but also your discipline, right? Your work ethic. That is something you and I talk a lot about, sometimes not in the best, most positive ways.
And it's so different now.
Because I think that you and I always align on that. Like we're always wake up, get to the grind, but also that grind is extremely exhausting. So how do you think you learned to balance the discipline, the love for the grind, but also taking care of yourself and nourishing yourself?
I mean, I definitely didn't in those years. And the eating disorder, it's obviously something I talk very vocally about now, but that was a manifestation of the fact that I didn't learn that. I was so disciplined, so rigid to a fault because I was so afraid of faltering. I was so afraid of not succeeding, of that decision that I made becoming the catalyst of everything didn't work out. What am I going to do? I'm going to move back in with my family. Like the stakes were really high for me. And so I had to be super disciplined. It was my only way to survive. And that same method that fueled my career is also what almost killed me.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because you need so much control to even like not have the FOMO to go out partying on a Thursday when you have a big meeting on a Friday. And obviously like now we understand that. But at 17, I didn't care. I'll be like, I'll sleep 2 hours and then just make it work. But how do you think you got the strength? Like it was just like in you, or it's something that you were like, no, I am just bigger and better than this?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like there was a lot of trial and error. When I first got to New York, also, when I first was there, I was living in the dorms, right, at NYU. So my peers, a lot of them were actually in grad school. It was like a weird time. So a lot of those programs were what was happening. They were going out. And so for a minute, like my first intro into New York, I was going out with them during that summer period, during my internship. It was Marquee Wednesdays back in the day in New York. Oh my God, I know. There was like Provocateur. There were all these places, and every single place had a night. there were multiple times where I definitely got sucked in and went out, and then the next day was completely miserable. Like, I remember we had shipping and receiving room, shout out to Champ and Jay, and I would hide in there. I would literally be so deathly hungover, lack of sleep, and also trying to manage my corporate job at 17 years old where I was literally dying. And I think it was a few of those extremely long, grueling days where I learned my lesson and I was like, I cannot do both. And again, I knew that this was short-term pain, you know? I grew up in Vegas, and so we partied very young, right? Like there was, I forget the name of it, but there was this like pool party at the Palms.
Oh my God.
And I was like 13 and we would sneak in and we would go to this place. And so for me, I felt like I had really outgrown that want to party and
fast.
I
went through it very fast.
It was not my priority anymore.
And Puerto Rico's the same thing because legal drinking age is 18, so basically
gosh.
13.
Yeah.
So you can do whatever you want.
I can imagine. I think when you start so young, you're like, I'm exhausted.
I mean, I had dinner yesterday at 9 p.m. and I was about to cry. I was
exhausted.
like, I can't do this anymore.
I am in bed at 9 p.m. with my legs up the wall.
I know. And a red light mask.
Amir knows. He's like, I know exactly where to find you.
After Sam Edelman, you started in private equity, which to me is like very scary. How did that go? How did that change happen? And how did that influence your life, how you looked, how you projected yourself, and how did that also affect what was going on with the eating disorder?
So at that point, that was, I think, 2021. I had been with Sam from 2015 to like 2021. So it was like 6.5 years. And I was kind of feeling like, I think especially because I had started there so young, that I had plateaued, right? That no one was ever really going to see me beyond that. And I wore so many different roles, hats in the company. Like I had been Sam's assistant at one point. I was an associate. I was a sales manager at one point. You know, I was doing so many different things. I helped them launch a different brand. I just felt like no matter what I did, everybody kind of always saw me as like little Natalie, you know? And I felt that plateau. And so I had kind of quietly started looking, not really knowing what I wanted to switch into. I was always really fascinated with the world of finance. And I kind of thought I was going to switch more into like a fintech role. And so I had started looking at some companies like that because I thought that they were changing the space, changing the way online shopping was happening, et cetera. And then randomly, I got introduced to the vice president at the time of HR at Olaplex. Olaplex had just received pretty large investment from a larger capital firm. And I really liked their origin story. They were founder-led. It literally started in a garage in Santa Barbara. It was this incredible story that was very led by professionals, completely organic. And I was hired to work directly with the CEO and to really spearhead e-commerce. And that was something that I had, learned a ton about and had really developed a lot of those programs at Sam Edelman. With that, I was working under also, their parent company. So I started getting pulled into a lot of these other conversations around some of the other portfolio companies. I, at the time, was also a part of the IPO for Olaplex. So I was, at that point, 23 maybe.
Did you ring the bell?
I did. I was at the NASDAQ, ringing the bell next to the CEO, who's still I admire beyond words to this day. She's no longer at Olaplex, but one of my biggest mentors for sure, alongside Sam. Such an incredible woman, which, we love, strong women.
Yes, we do.
But so I was a part of that whole process. And then the capital firm behind them basically started pulling me into different consulting positions across other portfolio companies, asking expertise, et cetera. Throughout my time there, I had made a ton of connections in the space, whether it was through agency partners, investors, other board members. And I fell in love with this opportunity of being able to kind of step into a brand, make a difference, drive growth, and step out. I get very bored easily. I'm someone who kind of constantly needs challenges. You know,
I was just going to say that. I'm like, you love a new challenge.
I love it. Like I tell companies that I work with still to this day, like, I want you to hire me so that you can fire me. Because if I did not get in and create change and create growth and generate revenue, I didn't do my job. And so becoming an operator is really what fueled my decision to kind of switch. And so I ended up starting my own company.
And that's, you know, one of the things that I really wanted to talk to you about, because I think it happened in a matter of hours. I am not exaggerating. You were like, this is not going to work out. I am starting my new company and I already built the website. And I'm like, it's 2 p.m. And this happened like yesterday. Like, what is wrong with you?
I'm definitely someone, when I make my mind up about something, it happens. Like, it's just, I'm doing it. I will sit down at the computer for 24 hours and I will not stop until there's a brand deck made, until like my focus becomes so lasered in. I cannot do anything else until whatever I'm thinking about has become a concept and is a deliverable.
A topic that you and I always discuss is paper walls, right?
Oh my gosh.
Because you and I both love being just like, I'll handle it, I'll do it. We terribly dislike people that are like, well, the shipping wasn't working out, or, well, I don't know how to edit a video. And you and I just like figure it out. And it's something that we've always admired from each other.
For sure.
But it's also hard, right? Because then when do you really take a minute and stop? Or when do you learn how to delegate? How do you think you balance being able to just like run with things and do it, and knowing when it's time to take a step back and maybe learn how to delegate or hire?
I think I'm much better at it now. I also think it's a privilege to be selective. And I always say that. I think if you're starting your own company, you probably do not have the opportunity to delegate, right? So in those early days of me starting my consulting firm, it was just me. It was bootstrapped. I was like, I'm going to take 5 months off of work to build this, to build my connections, to make a name for myself, to do as much business development as humanly possible until I land my first clients. I was doing everything from CMO, CFO, CEO,
Everything.
business development, accounting, everything. I was at the bank opening EINs, you know what I mean? Establishing an LLC. And so I didn't have an opportunity to be selective and to say, you know what, I really want to protect my peace right now and I'm going to delegate this. Like, yes, now I can. And I am able to do that when I just know that the most successful CEOs, and I'm pretty sure 90% of them will tell this, will say this exact same thing. You have to hire the right people for the job, right? You cannot do everything. Most CEOs spend around 40% of their time actually recruiting, right? Because they want to hire the best people for the job. They look at what's happening in the market. That's amazing if you can do that, right? That means your business is being fueled. You have cash to actually go recruit, to hire. In a startup, you probably don't have that, right? You're doing every single thing that you can. But I think constantly reminding yourself, if you're starting a business now, it's going to be harder in the beginning. But once you get to a place where you know your mission, you have your operational structure in place, now you need to say, how do I want to grow? And in which ways, right? You probably need the best person for business development. You also probably need someone who's an incredible marketer to help you spread the word and to do it in a way where your integrity is not lost. All of these different components come together. And I think, again, like the delegation might not happen in the beginning, but as you build your company, you have to remember that we have experts for a reason. And I'm not an expert in everything, you know, and in certain things, yes, I hope that people would consider me that, but not in everything. And so I have to find the right people who are.
You're doing a lot now, right? You have the podcast, you have the farm, your mom, you have your family. And I think a hot topic right now amongst everyone is, how do you make the time to do everything? Because you and I always talk about on a more personal note that having an eating disorder is something that stays with you forever, right? It's something that you're always like trying to keep in check, control, and making sure you make time for yourself. How do you think you balance everything and still prioritize making sure that you're staying true to yourself and taking care of yourself?
It's amazing that you bring this up because it's actually been something I've been talking a lot about with Amir, with, you know, just like my friends, et cetera. I've brought it up to you a bunch, but I'm very much in this like shielded mode. And I think because I have so much going on right now, because we are launching Casa Isla, I've launched Nourished, I am working on some other special projects that I will not say yet. And, you know, I still am dabbling in my own consulting and advisory. I have a big shield around me. And what I mean by that is I'm incredibly protective of my time and of myself right now. And the last thing that I can really handle is like additional stress. And so I'm super selective right now. And I think that I didn't always used to be that way. I used to just say yes, yes, yes. You know, I was running to this engagement or that or whatever it was. And right now, it's honestly really hard for me to say yes. I think I'm in this moment of my life much better at saying no to dinners or events or whatever it is. And I think that's what I need right now. And I'm trying to balance that, right? Because I don't want to be closed off. But at the same time, I've just had so much change happen and I'm starting so many different ventures. I have to be very protective of my peace right now. Even though I know that might sound a little cliche, it's the only thing that's like really helping my mental health, which is obviously huge priority for me. And so I would say knowing when you kind of need that shield is really important, and to listen to it, to not feel guilty for it.
Yeah, I think that saying no right now is more important than saying yes.
Yeah, for sure.
In everything. You and I actually were talking about the year of the horse, right? And how a lot of people are saying they're saying yes to so many things and they're saying it's the year of the horse. And we're like, no, we want to say more no's because those selective yes have so much more meaning.
Completely
and they
agree.
have so much more weight.
I think the year of the horse, it can mean so many things, right? Obviously, yes, it's momentum, but it's also momentum towards your goals.
Direction.
You're not running away from things this year. And so if the more powerful answer in your right now is no, you need to listen to that, but you have to know that inherently. No one else can dictate that, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think the last question that I have, and this is a personal one, how do you think you are going back to your why every day?
Because I feel this insane drive to my mission. I think it's taken me so long to figure out like what I want to do, what I have to say. And right now, every single day it's hitting me in the face, whether it's what's happening on like a social political scale, what's happening internally for myself, how I'm being faced with different challenges as a mom, as a friend, as a wife. Every single day
As an entrepreneur.
hit in the face, yes, as an entrepreneur, hit in the face with these reasons that completely reiterate my why. Whether I like it or not, it's right there. It's literally a mirror. And so that has been one of the biggest driving forces to just know I'm on the right path. I'm also, as you know, like I really believe in numerology, and I have multiple tattoos that are numbers. I constantly see signs, and you have to be very aware. You have to know your why, and you have to pay attention, because the universe, God, whatever higher power you believe in is going to tell you those signs, but you have to be present enough to notice them.
It's up to you to notice.
Completely agree.
I
So
love that.
that's how I'm going back to my why. It's not that I need reminders. It's just that every single day I'm being guided there.
I think that little Natalie must be very proud, actually.
I love you.
Not in Vogue, but
we might
in
not
other
be in
covers.
Vogue,
In other covers,
we
I
are
think.
doing different things.
We're doing different things.
I'm so excited that you came on. I actually would love to have you share a little bit about your famously coined term.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I think, especially for the audience listening, it has so much weight.
Yeah, I think that at some point in my life, a few years ago, I started becoming a little bit of a victim in my, I was like, oh, and then this happened, and then this happened, and that's why I don't feel good, or that's why I didn't show up as my best version. And I got tired. I got tired of playing the victim card, and I got tired of being a victim of, oh, I was just, tired because I worked a 12-hour day, or I was tired because I got into a fight with my husband or my mom. And I decided that I needed to design my own reality. And the way that I know how to do that better than everyone is by putting on a great outfit. So at some point I was like, you know what? I'm just going to dress for the best damn day. And then that day is going to happen. So you can call it manifesting, you can call it whatever you want. But for me, it's strategy. If I have a killer outfit on, that day is going to be great, no matter what.
It's so true. Honestly, I think that the thing that's kind of always said too is like, look good, feel good.
100%.
If you are home in your sweatpants, like
I just want to eat a cheeseburger and watch Love Story and FX. That's all I want to do.
No, it's so true. So what tips do you have?
I think that it starts with you. You can either start your day by going into the news and, being like, oh my God, this day is going to be terrible. Whatever, I'm just going to go out and deal with it. Or you can just wake up, say one thing you're thankful for. That really helps me. And then going into your closet and be like, what am I going to wear that is going to make me feel amazing? And no matter the traffic, no matter the curveballs of the day, it really is it's going to help with your energy. I think that, for example, today I was like, okay, what can I wear that is going to make me show up not only for Natalie, but it's going to make me show up for myself. And I mean, I can't breathe very well in these jeans, but they look amazing. And I'm going to pair it with a great blazer and killer heels. And that's it. And that's going to match the energy that I want to bring into the world. Show up with gratitude. Tip number 1. Tip number 2, pick something that honestly makes you feel amazing. And tip number 3 would be bring that energy to the people around you. And it's going to show. It pays in dividends, I swear.
It definitely does. I can say, yes, you are one of my closest friends. You are literally my sister, but you always show up, and you always show up for the people around you.
You have to.
That energy does not go unnoticed. Like you really are, and you are such a powerful force in that.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think that it really does reciprocate. When you show up to the world with the right energy, everything kind of works out. I was telling you this morning, I was like, I don't know if it's all the supplements, but I feel very zen. And I think it's because I've been waking up and being like, okay, today's going to be an amazing day.
Yeah, that gratitude.
Yes. And going back to your why. Like for me, every day I tell you, whenever we discuss challenges, like, okay, what are we learning from this? And how can we make it better?
Completely.
And it's going to be okay. You go back to your 1 year purpose and gratitude, everything works out.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Well, since you're here, I just have one question for you.
Okay.
What are you doing to nourish yourself on the daily?
I'm saying a lot of no's. I am protecting my energy, definitely. And I am prioritizing my health. I think that before it was always about what can I do for others? But now I'm like, no. This morning I woke up and I was taking all my supplements and meditating, and instead of just grabbing my phone and be like, okay, what crisis do I need to deal with? I was like, no, I'm going to take this first 30 minutes of my day and it's going to be all about me. I am saying yes to myself first and foremost. And then I am saying a lot of no's, but the yes that I say are for the people that matter and the moments that matter.
Yeah, it's very intentional.
It is very, very intentional. And wearing killer heels.
Always. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on today. Honestly, I love you with my whole heart. And
I love you and I'm proud of you more than anything.
Thank you. I'm very proud of you too. I'm proud of you for saying no. Like, honestly.
You always tell me, say no, don't overcommit. And I'm doing it. And it feels really, really good.
I'm proud of you. Thank you so much. I love you.
I love you, love you, love you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Please follow us on Instagram, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. You can message me, please leave comments, ask questions, and let me know what you want to hear more of. So thank you so much.